Can you hear me?
Uh, yeah, how you doing?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
Oh, very well, thank you very much.
Good,
All
good.
things considered.
Yeah. How have things been with you the past year?
Difficult. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. Took me a while to get my head around things a little bit.
Mm.
And then gave up on everything musically,
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Went into a bit of a dark space. Picked up a job. I mean, I've also got I'm a plumber by trade as well. So luckily, after the first lockdown lifted, I managed to get some work. So I've got an income coming in. Didn't get much help from the government. I think that's a story of most people, isn't it? So, yeah.
Same here. Yeah. Well, I'm a trader as well because I've got my own gardening business, got garden maintenance. And then
Yeah.
obviously I do my DJing on the side, so I'm same as you.
Yeah.
And like you say, we were just pretty much left in the shit by them, weren't we?
That's it. The funny thing was, though, I kind of got my DJing and everything to a point where I wasn't having to fall back on the plumbing, and I wasn't answering my phone for about a year because that wasn't at that point. It wasn't where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
So I managed to get 4 gigs a week, and then landed a promotions manager's job at Prism Nottingham. And then 2 weeks into that, I had nothing. So it was, I'd spent a good few years building up to that moment, or for it to be just swept away from under
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
It's a bitter pill to swallow. I won't lie to you. I mean, I literally, when I found out the clubs were all shut and stuff, I cried.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I'm in the same scenario because, like I say, I really sort of worked hard to get into ministry and then worked hard to build up to being able to play the main room, which I
Yeah.
ended up playing at the end of 2019 in November. So I was just, I got onto that stage. I got the things, the ball was rolling. I was getting bigger gigs booked and things like that. And then all of a sudden this hits and it felt like I was just getting to the top that I've been climbing for so hard. And then just like that.
I know. What a great venue though, Ministry. I think I played it 2018, I think, at the end of that. And wow, what
Benny Benassi, wasn't it?
Yeah, Benny Benassi, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that I normally wear hearing protection when I DJ, but that sound system was so good. I made sure all my music was in WAV form as well. I played a few of my own tracks in there. I'm always a bit apprehensive about playing my own music for some reason.
Yeah.
But what a great experience that. Possibly like the one of my best DJing experiences ever. That.
Yeah. Well, you don't even want to numb it with the monitors in that DJ booth because it's
no, not at all. And
I mean,
you know what? I left that club and my ears weren't ringing or anything. So that just goes to show how good they tweak that sound system in there. What a crowd!
Yeah. Well, it's a full Dolby Atmos system in there.
Yeah.
What they did, I think 8-9 years ago or whatever, they had Dolby Atmos come in and treat the room and just design the room, and it's been completely designed by them. I don't think there's a club like it in terms of the actual sound system on earth. And I say to everybody, I've been to the biggest festivals in the world, Creamfields, Tomorrowland. I've been at Tomorrowland on stage. I'm telling you now, that sound system is better than anything I've heard, even Tomorrowland. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Absolutely nuts.
And it is like literally the Ministry of Sound is the holy grail for every DJ to play at, isn't it? It's like, well, you made it when.
Absolutely. So you say it's sort of you had to go and get like other work. Did you go back and do something?
I've been working on a bit of music. I kind of I kind of had a bit of I didn't know where to go musically. I worked for a whole year solidly on a tech house project that I ended up not liking in the end. And then lockdown hit, and I've managed to get 6 tracks done over lockdown. I've been toing and froing with a few singers and stuff. I got it always happens. I got a signing. I got 4 tracks or 5 tracks signed to management, and it was a decent management as well. And they like none of the labels are signing anything, so they just dropped the project basically. So it kind of like it got all exciting for a bit. And then I'm not going to mention the names that were involved or anything, but it got all quite exciting for a bit. And you know, when you get those drips of hope, and you're like, "Yes, this is it. It's happening now." And then it's like, "Wow!" So yeah, because they said the major labels weren't signing any music throughout lockdown and stuff, they were kind of just dropped the project. So I've kind of been left with this music now, which means I can kind of go with it where I want. But it's just a matter of with the clubs not opening and stuff, I just don't feel I've got the urgency to, do you know what I mean? Push stuff out. It kind of feels like I'm in limbo land.
It's difficult to try and motivate yourself because, especially, I always say to people, you know, I think when we're going about our daily lives and, you know, we're just going to different places, we're experiencing different things, we're seeing different things, we get motivation from anything and ideas from anything. And when we're kind of just stuck in this monotonous, you know, stay at home or occasionally go to shops or work, it's very sort of basic. You're not getting much from that.
The highlight of our week.
Yeah. I always say, like, going down the M&S wine aisle is my highlight of the week.
I never thought I'd be so excited about going to work on a building site either. It's kind of like, that's my only social life.
Yeah. So you've had to go back to the plumbing, have you? Or?
Yeah, but I'm back on the plumbing. I mean, even that dried up for a little while. So, I mean, I started doing a bit of labouring work for a local builder. And then, yeah, it's just the plumbing work's picking back up again now. So I'm going to try and find an even balance when I get back, when the club start. I mean, I've already had my first DJ booking.
Okay.
Preliminary, I can't say the word preliminary until they open everything again.
Yeah.
So it's penciled in basically.
Yeah.
So that's something to look forward to. But Absolutely. I mean, we've had our hopes dashed before, haven't we? So I'm kind of a bit apprehensive about getting excited about it.
When is the date for it?
It's the 21st. It's the Monday.
You've on the actual day?
On the actual day, yeah.
Oh my God.
I know. So, but I'm hoping it goes ahead. But that weekend should be a busy weekend as well. The Friday, because obviously the 21st is on a Monday, isn't it? So, yeah. I mean, I'm just hoping they don't. I mean, this government's renowned for doing U-turns. So,
yeah. I've got my first one in September so far, end of September. So I'm hoping. Okay. What I'm kind of thinking is, you know, that sometimes they'll have a tendency to delay things by a month or whatever. That'll still give me enough time, you know, even if they delay things into July, August.
Yeah.
This one's a Freshers Week in September, so it's end of September, so should be good to go.
I mean, this was my quietest, like 2020. It was just bizarre, really, because I got into September and then it was like, this is the best time of year. As it did, you got all these like the Freshers Week, like just bouncing around a few different clubs, and you've got all these kids that have just moved away from home and they just want to party. And those Freshers Weeks for me kind of make me realize, you know, you do the bars, you do the clubs and all that kind of stuff, but the Freshers Weeks is when the clubs are at capacity and every single student there has got the energy in it, and there's something special about that, and I really miss that this year, like 2020. And I'm praying I don't miss it this year, because that's the kind of stuff that, like, you know, that drives me to do what I do. That energy you get back from the crowd and stuff, and it's
why a lot of us do it. It's because it's what makes us happy, and those moments where you've got a packed room, nothing better.
No, there isn't. No, and I find it quite meditative, because you know, a lot of the time I spend my life thinking about what happened yesterday, or thinking about what I'm going to do tomorrow, and you know, just like DJing to a packed dance floor just brings you into the moment. Like for me personally, and you just lose track of time, and you know, and it's a great buzz as well.
It is. And I've got to say as well, I think there's so many reasons why I'm in love with dance music, but like you say, I think I've met some of my closest friends and most loyal friends through raves, and gigs and
Yeah,
things like that.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I know, and all that's lacking at the minute. You know, people aren't making these connections, and I mean, I don't get on with. I mean, like social media and stuff like that. You know, I haven't quite jumped into the Zoom meetings things. I mean, I'm normally gearing up for Miami now to go out there and see my friends. I mean, last year, I had a gig booked in Miami.
I remember, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like that's not happening, I had to do this yearly excursion where I go to see all my friends in America that I don't normally see. You know, it's very expensive to get over here, and yeah, all that went. So now it's normally like I'm normally getting a load of my own music together to like, you know, to go over to Miami and yeah, that's not happening this year, but you know, fingers crossed.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, I mean, if you look back at my previous interviews that I've done, maybe 2, 3, 4 ago, say a few weeks ago, before
Yeah,
they made the big announcement, um,
yeah.
I gotta be honest with you. Like I was speaking with one of my friends, and he was talking about how he reckoned we might have cream fields and things like that by the end of the year, and I laughed at him. I was like, nah, never in a million years. I was like, nah,
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if we're able to get 3 of us in a pub by December. I was like, nah, that ain't happening. But
Yeah, I know.
look where we
No,
are. So
fingers crossed. If they don't do any U-turns or none of these new variants that keep popping up, and you know, I think there'll be absolute uproar in the country if they do a U-turn on what they've said. You know, the vaccines are out there. They've promised the world. You know, the statistics are skewed. I mean, you know, it's try not to go down the rabbit hole with all that
yeah,
stuff.
same
But
here. Yeah, I know me and you got similar opinions. But it
yeah,
is what it is.
unpopular opinion, but you know,
Well,
there's
yeah,
some people.
yeah. But at the end of
Some
the day, I
people.
think it's fair to have that opinion because we're most hit hard by it.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. Yeah,
this is.
yeah,
I think. I don't know how to put it, but almost like I think a lot of people that work in the music industry, particularly DJs and producers, we're quite like creative people, artsy people
yeah,
almost, and we thrive and we live off of being able to do that and to make something,
yeah, of
whether
course.
it be a
Yeah,
mix or a track, and then be able to kind of put it out to people and get
makes
that
it
response
alive.
that we live off of.
Yeah, of course.
And so when we have what over a year now of not having any of that whatsoever, it's
Yeah, of
really
course. Yeah,
tough. But then when we see we're given a light at the end of the tunnel, June, then
yeah,
we can kind of look at it and go, okay, that's the goal, and we can bang out all the bits that we need to do beforehand and get to it.
yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's not like we're robots where we can just keep repeating this thing over and over again. Like people will break at a point.
No. Oh, definitely. I mean, mental health. We're having a mental health crisis, and you know, there's so much more that these lockdowns have actually caused. So
Yeah.
many problems socially. You know, 71,000 families now like homeless, and you know, it's crazy if you think about it. I mean, yeah, it's the truth will come out in the wash, but
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
It
I'm
is.
trying to remain positive. I mean, to be honest
Yeah.
with you, the third lockdown, all right, there was no clubs, you know, so I focused on, you know, trying to find work. I found work. I focused on fitness. You know, I was like, doing some home workouts in my garden, got fit. They've opened the gyms again. I got back in the gym, did a bit of boxing and stuff, learned how to do, you know, just exploring other avenues I never got the chance to do before.
Mm.
And then, like I think was it the third lockdown? Was it the second? I don't know. The one before Christmas, just kind of like they took the gym and everything away, and the things that were keeping the wheels on my mental health came off, which was the gym, and that became a social life. I used to see people down there. You know, I mean, I don't go to pubs. I don't drink anymore. You know, but I do like going out for nice meals. You know, all that was taken away, and it's kind of like, you
Yeah,
know,
I mean, I completely am with you there because I used to be massively into the gym when I was younger. Like I joined the gym when I
yeah,
was 12 and started going at it straight away. And I was mad like 5 days a week, every day after school. I was in there, because I was quite an
yeah,
hyperactive kid. I weren't very much a class kind of kid. I just wanted to get in there and do my
yeah,
weights and whatnot. And then I don't know, maybe a kind of over the last, say, 2-3 years, with me being busy with my work and with music and things like that, I kind of neglected the gym. And then I sort of refound it in July, I think, when they opened up again.
Yeah.
And went to like a new one where my mate's at and started training with him. And that sort
Yeah.
of really helped me boost my, my morale, and it made me feel really
Yeah.
good about myself. And, I started
Definitely.
growing again as,
Yeah.
and feeling better about myself. And like you said, the critical thing is there's a lot of people there that I can just have a human connection with.
Yeah,
I can just
definitely.
have a
Yeah.
chat to, release the stresses that we've all got going on.
Yeah.
I mean, I connect with you as well about, just being able to go out and whatnot, because a little bit personal here, but basically back towards the end of last year, what was it, September, I
Yeah.
broke up with my ex now.
Yeah.
And it was really, really difficult to try and kind of get over it.
Yeah.
Because I think the biggest thing sort of to help you get over things like that is, being able to go out and mingle with other people, mingle with new women, also just mingle
Yeah.
with your mates and just, go out and have
Yeah.
a laugh. And when
Yeah.
you're kind of stuck at home, or for example, with my work, I've got my own business, but I work on my own. So I'm very
You've got
much on my own when I
coffee
go to
around.
work. I'm on my own when I come home. And
Yeah.
so it has been really difficult. I've had a good few mates who I'm on the phone with, and I've had a mate
Yeah.
in a similar situation, and we chat to each other and whatnot. But it's been really, really difficult. And if the pubs and things like that were open, that would obviously make it a lot easier, because I
Yeah.
can kind of just mingle with people, and it helps just to move on.
Forget about stuff, but essentially, when you're on your own, you kind of like living in your own head kind of thing, aren't you? And it's like
Yeah,
you just go round and round and round with everything, and it's not
fully.
getting shared. Everybody, you're not having a laugh. Somebody isn't taking your mind off things, and
Yeah, but this is it as well. You hear other people's perspectives, you hear other ideas, and you think, oh, hang on, actually, maybe, it's not so bad. I don't need to worry about these things too much, or, there's other things I can think about, there's other things I can do, and things like that.
yeah.
In normal life, your mind can kind of get taken off it, and you can kind of move
You
forward a
can
lot easier because
distract
there's a lot more
yourself a
going
lot,
on.
can't you? Yeah.
Exactly. And yeah, mate, it's been difficult because it was my first relationship, so it was my first kind of breakup kind of thing. And so yeah, I kind of went back to what I've always known, which is music,
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
music's been the one thing for me in life that I kind of look at not as a friend, but it's kind of had my back in the sense that it always lifts me up when I feel down.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
You know what I
Definitely.
mean? And so
I mean,
yeah.
I've had to reconnect to find. I mean, I always see music as a love affair with me. Sometimes I'm really into it, and then sometimes I'll take a back step and like not really liking anything that's coming through. And I know in lockdown was great the first time around for me musically, because I was downloading and buying stuff that I wasn't having to think that I was doing it for myself. Like I do a lot of residencies and stuff, and every time I was looking for music, I was like thinking, well, that's an R&B remix of that. That'll work there, or that'll work here, or that will go down really well there. And I wasn't actually thinking, oh, I really like that. I can play that. Do you know what I mean? So like I was discovering lots of new music again, with no like kind of parameters of where I was going to play it kind of thing, because I wasn't, I was just literally listening and downloading it for me, because I wasn't trying to please a crowd in front of me kind of thing. And then obviously I just kind of lost. I just think there must have been a lull, or whether it was somewhere that I was at, just everything started sounding the same. And I was like, oh, I don't really like any of this. And music isn't the same when you don't hear it in a club. When you're in a club and you hear a song for the first time, you're like, wow, what's that? And you see the reaction in the crowd. Music hasn't got that at the minute, especially dance music. It's designed for clubs.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I don't know whether it was just where I was at, but I kind of just, I stopped listening to music for a while, and then I kind of I started digging out loads of old vinyl out of my old collection and started listening to stuff that that lit my fire when I first started collecting music, and I kind of, you know, just gradually got myself back loving music again through stuff I loved a few years back.
Yeah.
So now I'm listening to a lot more music again now, and it's weird. It's like the state of my mental health just sent me down a bit, and you know, hopefully now we can get back to it all.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I completely agree with you, because I kind of lost touch with, you know, what's current music. You know, I like to listen to all the different radio shows and kind of, you know, listen to all the different record labels on their YouTube channels and see what they're coming out new. And I think, Jesus Christ, the last time up until this week that I properly did one of those was about 3 months. And really, I do it normally every couple of weeks to keep up to date. And it'd been ages. And then I just sat on my laptop on I think Sunday night and just went through for about 4 hours. I was just like, oh my God, this stuff's amazing.
yeah. It's almost like rediscovering it all over again.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes you do have to have those little breaks away from it, because it can be a bit overbearing, and you just, I think you actually stop listening. You know, like, although you're listening to it, you kind of just switch off to it, because you just got this influx of music all the time, and it's good to have a little break from things. I mean, I had a break about 9 or 10 years ago. I had a break from the whole industry for a couple of years, and it kind of like, I came back from that like with the same passion I had before. So, you know, I kind of lost all passion for everything, and then I kind of found it all again, if you know what I mean, and it brought me back stronger. So I think the scene of the music, like where we're going like this year, fingers crossed, I mean, the whole thing's going to explode. I mean, it said that Creamfield sold out in what, 2 hours? The hangar, I think one of the hangar parties, I can't remember what it's called, sold out in about 3 minutes, I think, or 15 minutes. So yeah, I'm just hoping for the sake of like Creamfields and everybody involved, like that they don't backtrack and stop them from doing it.
Well, I mean, you know, I completely agree with you, because I think, for me personally, more than anywhere, like, ministry means so much to me, and the people around me will know that, because like when I turned 18, pretty much celebrating my 18th birthday in ministry, watching my heroes at the time. They're still my heroes, W&W.
Wow.
And so that's
I met them in Miami once. They're so tall, they're like tower over you. It's like,
you see this picture here? That's me in the middle. There's the two of them either side of me.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah.
You can see on the small, I'm 6'2", and they're wow. I'm the smaller one in the middle there.
Well, I'm only 5'10", so yeah, I met them in Miami once, quite a few years. I think 2016, and like, wow. Yeah. But yeah, they were super cool, super nice.
But yeah, man, that was my first gig, and then from then, for about the next 2.5, 3 years, I went to ministry every other Friday for about 3 years. So I'd drive down from Birmingham after work on a Friday in my car, do a rave all night there, seeing whoever I was, seeing all the, you know, the EDM DJs. And then I'd hop back in my car at 6 o'clock and drive home to Birmingham again. Wow. So I did that for about 3 years. So that place means everything to me, because like, music is just what makes me happy.
Definitely, well, it's part of our lives, isn't it? It's what we do. It's what makes us feel alive. Definitely, for me, you know, there's nothing like playing to a crowd.
No. And I've met so many, like, some of my strongest friendships, like I said to you earlier, is through raves and being at the front of the ministry main room and mixing with all these different people. Like, from it, I've got German friends, Dutch friends, I got Kenyan friends, Chinese, South Korean, all people from around the world that come to see all these different guys. I've become really good friends with, and it's just the most amazing memories ever. So I've got so many good memories at that place. And you know, when things were kind of
Yeah,
maybe
because
end of last year.
Yeah, there was a petition going around not a while back, wasn't there? And have they changed owners recently?
Well, so what happened? I think you're referring to what happened a few years ago, well, 2-3 years ago, where basically it was probably, yes, it was probably there when you went to play that gig. The big building opposite the entrance. They were basically trying to get Ministry shut down because of sound issues.
Yeah, of course. Usual.
And funnily enough, guess who saved Ministry from being closed?
Who?
Boris Johnson.
You're kidding.
Mayor of London. I'm not kidding. Mayor of London, Boris Johnson. Yep.
No way.
So I was thinking to myself last year, I was like, don't you fucking dare let this close that for you to get it open. I was like, don't you dare. How ironic is that? But oh god, but yeah,
I might take some of those things back I've said about it.
Well, this is what I said. Like obviously a lot. He's not exactly been. Most people haven't been a massive fan of him the past year. But I have seen, like, you know, the odd few residents from Ministry saying, okay, let's just be nice to him and hope that he keeps the place open. Like, let's kiss him not. He likes that. Maybe he can do it again.
Wow, that's hilarious.
But no, going back to your point from earlier, when you hear a song in a club compared to just hearing it on your laptop at home or whatever, it is so different. And I can attest to it because and I bet you've had the same experience where multiple times I've heard a track when I've been flicking through my playlists and whatnot, and it's been okay, but and then I'll go to the club and I'll hear it through the monitors and I'll be like, oh my god, I'm in love with this, and then I can't stop playing it.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a big part of trying to keep the inspiration during these times, because obviously you're massively inspired when you go to see other people as well.
100%, yeah, I agree. Yeah, and there's just been zero inspiration. I don't think I've had my lulls, but I don't think I've ever felt so uninspired in my life than being locked in my house.
Well,
might as well be in prison.
Yeah, you can't get much fun from just inspiration from just being in your van going job to job, can you? It's like...
Yeah, I know. Yeah, there's only so much Kiss FM and Kisstory and Capital I can listen to.
I just hear my diesel
ticking over. I think that's why I switched off musically. To be fair, I was just like rolling my eyes at everything that came on. That's no offense to anybody. I mean, I got to be honest with you, I got to play on Kisstory on. I got one of my songs played on Kisstory by the Wide Boys on Friday night, and I was quite shocked by it. So a few of my songs have done the rounds on Kiss and Capital and a few of the others before. I was like thinking, well, what song have they played? Like, it was racking my brains. And then I went over to the Kisstory site, and the playlist wasn't there. They didn't put the playlist up there, so I had to listen to it. And then they wouldn't let me listen to the whole show, so I had to sign up to the Kisstory app just to listen to the show. And it turns out it was a bootleg I did about 4 years ago, which is great. Yeah, I was like, yeah, that's definitely mine. So I thought, the Wide Boys were tagging me in on their social media. I thought, what track have they got hold of? Kisstory, like crikey. Yeah. So yeah, that was a bit of a reminder again of why I do. Do you know what I mean? Like a little bit of a lift and got me excited again.
Yeah. I can see what you say about you were a bit sort of as to whether you were gonna, release, and labels were as well last year.
Yeah.
You had a lot of big producers. I think maybe Afrojack, but like a lot of guys that are fairly big didn't want to put out anything, and they said purely because there's no one that's going to be able to dance to on a dance floor, so why bother?
No, you're right.
And
and dance floors make the tracks. You put your stuff out there, you send it out to promo. I mean, it's a shame a lot of the big boys sold out, and I call it spotty fodder. They started making these 80, 90 BPM tracks and slowed everything down. just so they could make revenue from Spotify. You know, so that their songs could end up on playlists in shops and you know what I mean, they're a bit more easy listening and stuff. But definitely, if you're a dance music like producer at heart, you want your stuff played on a dance floor, not Spotify.
No. Do you reckon?
I mean,
to be honest
with you,
sorry, go ahead.
To be honest with you, the first bit of money, actually proper bit of money I made out of like production was from a Spotify track like that.
Oh, bloody hell.
Yeah.
You reckon the algorithm on Spotify, because I've not really heard this before, but do you reckon it favors the 80-90 BPM stuff?
I don't know. I just think it's more favorable for restaurants and bars and a bit. Right. Somebody's a bit of background music. You don't want to flip an 130 BPM track. So a lot of bars and things will put on laid back playlists and things. So it be generating the plays, you know. Yeah. So that's kind of I mean, I don't know about the Spotify algorithms, you know, but I just know that this the label I had a track signed to, what made a little bit of money off. It was not a lot, but yeah, they had a real. They're pretty big on Spotify, and they get a hell of a lot of Spotify plays.
Right.
So I'm actually thinking about releasing a few more tracks with them, but I want to keep my options open at the minute. Shop around, but the thing is with getting your music listened to at the minute, it's all bottlenecked. You've had all these producers sitting at home for a year with no work, and all they've done is made shitloads of tracks. So now they want people to listen to them, and I think Danny Howard was touched on it once, and he says the problem is the whole thing now is bottlenecked, because everybody's, you know what I mean, he's got this ton of music, and I mean, I think Toolroom was saying they used to get about 2,000 promos a week, and that was a few years back, and it was impossible to listen to all of that music in a week. You know, I mean, the A&R guy couldn't physically get through them all. Now, like, these producers have been sat at home for a whole year, and now they've got a big body of music, and they're just trying to get all these labels to listen to it. So I don't know where it's going to go at the minute. Obviously, if you're already popping and you're already a known act and you're already known to these labels, you're laughing, aren't you? Really. But if you're somebody trying to get noticed at the minute, I think it's going to be very difficult unless you know somebody that works for one of those labels.
Yeah, it's a difficult scene as it is, and to have this happen as well. It's like, Jesus Christ.
I know, it's like
but
it's getting more difficult now.
If we can come out the other side and still have something to go to, then we got to give ourselves props, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely. And I know, like, you was talking about Ministry being saved and stuff, but I just heard on the grapevine somewhere that some new owners bought it and they weren't gonna let it go, basically.
I think I know roughly what you're on about, because the guy who runs like the club, I don't know exactly what his position is, but I know that he's kind of like, I don't think he's the owner, but he definitely like runs the overall place. He did like a couple Sky News interviews. I don't know if you've seen it, like at the end of last year.
Yeah.
And he kind of touched on how they really needed to be able to open and that kind of thing. But I didn't hear too much about anything to do with new owners. But
right, okay, yeah, it was just something I heard on the grapevine. You hear these things off people that know somebody, and it's fine. I know Deltic went into administration, who owned like Prism. They owned the monopoly on all the.
I heard something about that. What happened there?
Yeah, so they've been bought out. They went into administration, so they were fine all the way up until about August, and then their money started running out. Obviously, they've got, I think it's 59 venues in the UK. That's Jesus. So they held the monopoly on most of the clubs in the UK in each different town. I know they were just going to launch a Prism Newcastle and Prism Manchester. I think they were just on the fringe of launching those in 2020. Obviously that hasn't happened now, but yeah, they went into administration. The money went. Obviously, they still had to pay rent on these buildings that they released. Went into admin, and it's been brought up. Luckily, you know, this is where it stems from. I've just had my first DJ booking. I mean, I can go back to two of my residencies that are both owned by this new company. They've kept all the same images on, which is good. But yeah, it was bought out by a Dutch firm called Recom. I think it's Recom. They own, I think they own about 400 different venues across Europe, Amsterdam. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's quite exciting for that, but it's a shame that the biggest nightclub operator in the UK went into administration.
You know? Well, I'm shocked at more haven't I mean, you know, like the Pop Worlds and the Fevers and things like that. I'm shocked that they've.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't heard anything, but
no.
Jesus, you'd have thought Prism is obviously bringing in bigger numbers revenue-wise than they are.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not sure on the facts and figures, but obviously, like the Prisms are big venues, so you got a bigger venue, you got a bigger overhead.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. you have got that as well.
Yeah, I don't know on the Pop World scene, but I just know that, like, you know, who knows? Who knows? I mean, a lot of the small guys have been wiped out.
It'll be interesting to see, because I think, like, I've had this conversation with quite a few people. It'd be interesting to get your opinion on it, because I think maybe over the past 8-9 years, maybe something like that, the music industry, and particularly the club industry, you know, nightlife industry in the UK, has kind of gone down to pop in terms of, you know, you've got these Pop Worlds, you've got these Fevers, you've got these different nightclubs, and then you've obviously got the Prisms as well. And I think what they've done is they've really changed from the Ministry of Sound kind of idea of get a headliner in, get some artists around him, sell tickets, and, you know, have a load of fans of those guys or of the club come in. And what most clubs like Prisms and all these clubs that we're talking about have kind of gone more for the model of just cheap tickets, cheap drinks, sell as much as you can. And what that ends up doing is you end up bringing in the wrong kind of people, because you just end up, and the wrong kind of atmosphere, because you just end up having everyone being pissed and no one's actually there to have a good time, so to speak. They're just there to get hammered.
I think it's just become a bit of a constant battle between these venues. You know, you've got like these huge venues, and in certain towns there might be 2 or 3 of these venues, and they're all fighting for the same crowd. So it's kind of like they will cheapen the drinks. I mean, for me, I mean, it was a bit in about the decline you're talking about was like kind of, because obviously I used to work at Gatecrasher Birmingham. And that went, and then I think just before that the Archers went, and there's only a few that are big, few like home like grown clubs like Digital Newcastle that book the DJs and do that, and then there's the Ministry, and I don't know any other clubs outside of that. You know,
you've got Motion in Bristol. I think they're the same.
Okay, yeah, Motion, yeah.
But it's literally like 3.
Yeah.
Mad.
I think like the whole population turned on EDM at one point, like that big room sound. And it's kind of a bit weird. I don't know. Yeah, and it did go to everywhere's just been more commercialized, because that seems to be where the money is. And then they found out that isn't just where, like, you know, they've cheapened the commercial side of things, like you said, get the numbers through the door with the cheap drinks and things like that. And I know I was kind of, this is what I was saying about looking for music for venues and stuff, because like I got, obviously I found myself playing more commercial stuff to please the crowd, you know, and to please managers and the venue, you know what I mean, that you're playing at. So it's quite a, and there's also a lot of, you know, gone. So me and a friend had a brand a few years back, and it was practically built around the residents, and you could relatively stack a headline act you could have 2 or 3 headline acts, and we're booking 2 or 3 headline acts. And you used to see all the old Gatecrasher flyers. You used to have 5 headliners on there, and that was just a club. Yeah,
honestly.
but I think it's the fact that the booking agents and the DJs have got greedy. All of a sudden, someone out of nowhere gets the number 1 track, it gets in the top 10, and then they all of a sudden they're commanding 5 or 6 grand for like a performance, and only a big venue will be able to warrant putting that on. You know, you wouldn't find like do you know what I'm saying there?
Mm-hmm.
I think that all that thing of booking a DJ has just become really expensive for promoters and stuff to put on. I'm looking at it from a promoter kind of, you know, and these people might not necessarily, you know, you say like they're not big ticket sellers either. They've only just started coming through. They haven't started small, doing the rounds in the small clubs, then worked their way up to the bigger ones. They've just like literally come out of nowhere, and agencies got a hold of them, said, right, well, this is your fee, and then all of a sudden they're commanding stupid fees, and you know, it's really bad for the scene.
That's a good shout, because I've not really sort of looked at it from that point of view and kind of said either. But I think, like you say, it's kind of getting club and artists to meet in the middle.
This is it, yeah, because they're going to be screwed. Like promoters have not got, unless you're stinking rich, promoters have not got the money to put on. You know, it was bad enough as it was getting to a point where, you know, it was killing the scene. You know, you can't put David. I mean, like when I first started working at Gatecrasher, like they had Steve Angelo coming through, Laid Back Lou, and they were all relatively cheap, like Nicky Romero. You know what I mean, under $3,000, and that's not bad for
at that time.
That's not a bad shout for a free. Yeah, that time it wasn't a bad shout, and you could get a few of those on your lineup, and you've got a 3,000 capacity venue, so you'd make it back on the door tenfold. And now you go to get David Guetta in a club now. You know what you're talking. I'm not sure on the facts and figures on that one, but
we can make our guesses.
Yeah, what's happening now is these DJs aren't even making that much of a big splash, and they're not necessarily big ticket sellers, but they're commanding big money. And I think this is going to be a big wake up call for a lot of agencies and things. I hope. You know, and they've got to meet in the middle somewhere if they want to get the scene back up and running again, because it became very stale in that sense. If they want to get the scene back up and running again, they're going to have to meet in the middle somewhere with the promoters. Because obviously you've got an outside promoter. It's all right if the club's booking you, because the club can warrant the fee. They can lose the fee in the door, and then they'll still take the drinks money at the bar. They're still getting the bar. But if you're an outside promoter, you know, you want to put an event on at a club and put an ex DJ on or whatever you want to put on, you can't warrant a £25 ticket on the door, because nobody wants to pay £25 just to get into a 500-600 capacity club. And that's the issue you have, and then you won't get the bar, so you won't make any money. So it's almost like, well, what is the point in trying to do this then? What is the point in trying to get this going? And you don't see. So when I first started promoting clubs, there would be 5 or 6 different nights going off in the same city. And you don't get any of that now. You know, it was almost like a promoter war kind of thing. Who can get the most people through it? And it was a really healthy kind of scene.
I always say how I'd have killed to be around in 2012. Like, yeah, honestly, I mean, I think I messaged you on Facebook before saying, like, look at this lineup in 2012 and in Gatecrasher, because I'm only 10 minutes out of Birmingham, so Gatecrasher his Prism now is about 15-20 minute drive for me. And the old owner of Gatecrasher is only 5 minutes down the road from me. He lives not far from me. So
I've been to.
That's it. Yeah,
I know the area actually. It's not really nice area.
Because my brother-in-law is friends with one of his family members. But it's interesting, because I think I don't know if it's purely just a case of the you know, the bigger artists or the artists that blow up
Yeah.
are being greedy. I think there's probably something to that for sure. But at the end of the day, if you look at where they are going, there's plenty of clubs across Europe, but more so Asia, America, things like that,
Yeah.
where they're just doing sellout tours constantly. And then
Yeah.
so okay, those places have been able to afford them, and they're doing it at pretty much similar sized clubs to what we've got, because we've got massive clubs in this country too. It's not like we're all
Yeah.
just running around in sheds. So it's
No.
like, okay, where what's going wrong? And I'm not even talking about I want to see David get on Broad Street, you know, next month. I'm talking let's
I'll tell you
do
what,
baby steps. Baby
in
steps, you
about
know.
2008, you would have seen David. I think he did play at Gatecrasher Birmingham. He was doubled up. I think he came to Nottingham in 2009, maybe 2008, 2009.
He
And I
played
think,
Ministry Main Room in 2009.
yeah, so I think he was doubled up as well one of those nights, because
Yeah.
Gatecrasher Nottingham and Gatecrasher Birmingham used to barter. To say, look, we'll put him on at Nottingham, and and we want him for this, you know. So there was a great bargaining chip there. So you get 2 gigs in one night, if you do the price for this amount.
I mentioned to someone, I think I mentioned it to you. There was one night where it was like, I think it was Boxing Day 2012, where it was like Hardwell, Nicky Romero, Sunnery James, Frank Marciano, Eddie Hallowell, and then in the small room was Umit Ozcan, Menno de Jong. It was just like a nuts lineup.
Yeah.
And then I think it was I was speaking to a couple of weeks ago, you know, Miles Robinson.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
And he was talking about how he was there that night, and how I think Gatecrasher, is it Sheffield?
Yeah. There was Gatecrasher Leeds.
Okay.
Gatecrasher Nottingham. They had Bed Club in Watford.
Right. They had a few then.
Yeah, Gatecrasher Nottingham, Gatecrasher Leeds, Watford, and Birmingham. I think they had four.
I was only aware of the Birmingham one and the Sheffield one, I think it was.
Yeah, because Sheffield burnt down, and then I think the after that they opened Birmingham, and then they opened Nottingham, and then they opened Leeds, and then they opened one called Bed Club in Watford.
Yeah, I mean, it's been so depressing for me, because like I turned 18 in 2016, and you know, I think Gatecrasher Birmingham anyway shut down in like 2014, maybe 13. So I missed it by a few years. I mean, like I say, that night that I just told you about, I think they double booked it with one of the other Gatecrashers as well. So they was having like artists.
Yeah, because I think Hardwell played Leeds as well.
That's it, yeah. And Nicky Romero was double booked to one of them as well, I think.
Yeah, he came. He played somewhere else as well, but I think it was only $5,000. Hardwell was something like that.
Oh my god, that's nuts.
I can't. I think it was Nicky Romero, but yeah, it was around about the $5,000 or $6,000 mark. Yeah, but then he blew up. Like, that was just when he was teetering on, you know, blowing up then. So yeah.
Well, I mean, if you look at like Hardwell's, for example, what's 4 or 5 years later playing Tomorrowland main stage, and then when he do like the arena tours, and when he'd be playing like the warehouses like Victoria Warehouse in Manchester and down in London, I'm sure he was, you know, getting the best part of $100,000, and you're like,
get
$5,000 at one point. But I suppose we all got to start somewhere, eh, with the chum change.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, man, I'm because like I say, when a Gatecrasher Brum shut, I think I was about 15, 16. And I was fully into, like, I knew all the clubs in this country, I knew all the other clubs, and so I was like, oh my god, look who's at Gatecrasher this week. I'd show my sister, she was old enough to go, and she'd go, and I'd be like, kill me. But I remember seeing that lineup, and I wanted to click on to get tickets, because I think it was before I understood that you have to be 18 to go to events. I was like, oh god, Hardwell's coming to my town. And I clicked on tickets, said you have to be over 18. I remember I stood at the top of my stairs. I just sat down on the top stairs and started crying. I was like, I can't go.
Oh, Dad, you should. I wish I'd have known you back then. I could have got you in through the back door.
Oh, mate, honestly. But yeah, man. But it's depressing because we had that, but we also had like a few minutes away from me, because I live just out of Birmingham, just near Redditch. I don't know if you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
And so sort of between, I'm banging the middle between there and Stratford, and obviously Stratford used to have not gay, Global Gathering.
Yeah.
So Global Gathering used to take part just down the road from me, and I was telling my mates like the lineups on that were competing with Creamfield's lineups easy, like they were mad.
Yeah, definitely.
So it was always sort of lingering, and then as soon as I'm of age, they all fuck off, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that's what it was weird because it was kind of like the whole of the UK. I mean, that whole deep house thing came in, and everybody just fell out of love with like the whole. I mean, they're like calling it EDM, just that sound, just that big festival. Yeah, the 128 stuff. The high energy for me, it kind of like dance music lost a bit of its energy there, I think, to be honest with you. I don't know.
The only events that I could go to when I turned 18 would be held at either Ministry or Victoria Warehouse in Manchester.
Yeah.
That was it.
Or Cream. Yeah.
Or Creamfield, obviously. And then I finally got to see like a EDM type gig in 2019 at Digital. I went there for the first time, and it was Vinny Vici Headhunters. I got to go backstage.
I call it Ministry of Sound of the North. I do. It's a great venue.
Brilliant, absolutely. I got to go in the DJ booth when a couple of guys were on, because my mate warmed up the room. And I was like, "Whoa, this place is epic."
Yeah, it's a pretty similar setup, the DJ booth, to like it reminds me of a lot of Ministry. Just literally just a little bit above the crowd, and they're all in front of you.
The only thing that does bug me about that club, if I was to play, is that one big fucking pillar in the middle. I'm like,
I know. Yeah.
That bugged me so much.
Honestly, I wouldn't. It is a fantastic club to play. I had some cracking. I think I played there on a New Year's Eve once, and it was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that would be nuts, man. But that's the one thing that so far, like you say, where we are at this moment, March of 2021, it looks like Ministry is going to reopen. Digital, Motion's announced they're going to reopen, so it looks like the places we love are all good. So we can we can be relaxed. We can relax now. We can be like, oh, yeah.
Well, hopefully, hopefully I'm really hoping there's a bit of a rebirth. All these empty venues are now open for somebody to step in there and do something. And I'm hoping that the prices of the DJs are going to come down a little bit. I know there's going to be a massive spike for demand, and all these DJs that are saying through lockdown, I'll do anything, and I'll reduce my prices and my rates just to get the bookings and stuff. I think there's going to be a massive spike and a massive demand for them, and I hope the pricing comes down a bit.
Well, I hope so. I mean, you had obviously the big scandal when this all kicked off this time last year with Carl Cox and a few of the other DJs. I don't know if you remember that. And then
I remember that. Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, okay. Maybe you might want to look at price reduction when things come back.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah, I mean, it's going to kickstart. Everyone says it needed a bit of a reset. Yeah, it was, for me, it was getting a little bit stale, and it did need a bit of a kick up its arse. And I think the whole industry did need a bit of a shake up, but not that much of a shake up. You know what I mean?
We've been traumatized now. Leave us alone. We know what's happened. Just
not a shake up that's going to scar me forever. Yeah.
We was expecting a walk to the shop, and we got a marathon. Bloody hell.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But yeah, man. So I want to get into kind of the interview portion now.
Okay.
So, just be rambling off for ages.
Yeah.
So I want to begin by understanding your musical journey. So, what was your first musical memory in life? Maybe the first song that you heard, or an event that took place at some type of music type event.
So my first love of music was hip hop, and I remember the first kind of. I mean, like I used to go through all my dad's. My dad used to have a record collection, so I used to. There was a lot of Dolly Parton stuff in there. I used to listen to a lot of Little Richard and stuff like that. That my dad used. I mean, I always remember when this was when I was talking out. My first experience when I thought I'd found something for me was when I was hip hop, and I think it was a Public Enemy album or maybe Run DMC album, and that's where I thought, yeah, I really like this, and possibly the defining album for me, but was like De La Soul, 3 Feet High and Rising, which was I'm talking the 90s now. I've been kicking around the industry for quite a few years, so yeah, like the Dolly Parton stuff as a child growing up, listening to that in my dad's car, and Little Richard and all that kind of music, and obviously like commercial wise, all the music that was kicking around. It was the 80s, you know, so, which was fantastic year, like fantastic 10 years for music. So you had Michael Jackson in the charts and all stuff like that.
Was Earth, Wind and Fire big back then? Like, was that the 80s or 90s?
Yeah, I can't remember like them on the radar then, if you know what I mean.
No,
It's
no.
more Lionel Richie, and there was a lot of the new romantic stuff. So Boy George was always in the press, and you know that kind of stuff. But I was never like really into it. It was just kind of like found myself listening to it because it's on the radio or that kind of stuff. And then yeah, my first actual love of music when I thought, wow, this is incredible, like was the hip hop era, like the late 80s kind of hip hop era. I was just, and there was a whole movement that surrounded that because I used to do graffiti, and it kind of just went with the, you know, the breakdancing, the graffiti, and there was a whole massive movement around the world that was just, it just took a hold of me, and it was just like, wow, yeah. And then I think after that, I was kind of like following, like I thought I'd be into hip hop forever, and then the rave era came around. You know, like the early 90s, 91. You know, all these big Fantasia, the acid house, and all that kind of stuff came through, and it was like I was a teen then, and there used to be a little radio station called Rave FM, and we used to like. I was about 14, and we used to go into my mate's car, listen to Rave FM, and you know, and then, you know, this was back when you could get into clubs with fake IDs. You could actually write your own name and date of birth on these IDs. So I actually went to my first rave at about 14.
Wow.
15, yeah, and it was just like it absolutely blew my mind, you know. So that was me. That kind of set me off. So I was about 15 then, and then I remember I went to college, and I was really into drum and bass. I moved from, because like, you know, like music gets generalized. There was kind of like happy hardcore. I was into that, then hardcore, and then it moved into drum and bass and jungle. So I was quite heavily into that when I went to college at about 16, 17. And a friend of mine was into house music, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I love what you're doing," but he says if you can like play house music, he says I can get you gigs. So next week I went record shopping and just bought a whole chunk of house music, and that was kind of where it was probably I got into house music for all the wrong reasons, you know. But that was kind of like my first experience. That led me to my first experience actually DJing out in a venue. So that's where that kind of like house music led me into playing out, and then fell in love with it.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
yeah.
so what sort of age did you actually start to learn to DJ?
Oh crikey! So I watched the I watched the DJ DMC championships on TV, and I just knew I wanted to learn how to do that. So I must have been around 13. I badgered my mum into buying me a set of decks, and I got her to get me these decks, and they weren't Technics, they were just some crap like things. And she brought me a few lights and some speakers and stuff, and actually set up my own mobile disco. I wasn't very mobile, do you know what I mean? I was getting taxis or getting my parents to drop me off places, but I used to do school discos and you know, parties for people and things in the early years.
To break from the 50-year-old bloke doing it.
Yeah.
I used to think you're a bit old for this place, ain't you?
My musical tastes back then weren't very eclectic. You know, if I went to did somebody's wedding, like, you know, I'd make sure I'd got all the music for the wedding. But I remember, like, all the kids then were into the rave and the hip hop, so that'd be the set. But if somebody booked me to do like a birthday party or anything that weren't into rave, that's all what they got was rave or hip hop.
You made a wedding and you sound like an acid warehouse.
I was like, no, this is all you get.
You got a couple slow dancing on the dance floor, and it sounds like a warehouse in Coventry.
Oh dear. So yeah, my first set of decks I got when I was 13. So I learned relatively young and I was there wasn't any YouTube back then. There wasn't any kind of there weren't. I don't think I can name a DJ in my town that was like my mentor. There was a lot of there was a lot of rave DJs that I looked up to, DJ Sign and a couple of other guys, and I used to listen to their mixtapes over and over and over again, like listening to the mixes and how they did it. And I used to try and practice that. I mean, I was literally self-taught just from listening to these mixtapes, just trial and error, really. Nobody really came to my house. I mean, now you've got production courses, DJ courses. You're quite spoiled today. You can go on YouTube and look how to do it there. There was no YouTube, there was no DJ courses, there was no production classes back then. It was just like, here's a pair of decks, here's a load of mixtapes you've already got. Like, just try and do what they do. And it was like, yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it, you know, and that's why I knew I wanted. That's why I saw that one thing, that DMC mix competition. I thought that looks really cool. I want to do that. And then obviously, I think DJing is the only consistent thing I've ever done in my life and not got bored of it. And I've held a lot of different jobs as well.
I don't think you can ever get bored of this.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I went from playing in bars from when I was about 18, and then moved on to the clubs, doing the club circuit, which was great. A friend of mine, we teamed up with a friend of mine, and we got in the early 2000s. We created this brand. Well, he actually created it, and I kind of jumped on with him, and we made this brand kind of big, and we. You know, I was getting the name mentioned in Mixmag and stuff like that. I wasn't Akadian back then. I had a totally different DJ name. When it was kind of like the funky house sound. And yeah, we ended up with our own club at one point.
What was this?
And that went it was called The Lost Weekend, and our brand was called Love Zoo. So yeah, I mean, the club kind of shut in 2007, 2008. There was I think it was a banking crash. It was the first recession for a few years, and it kind of hit in 2008. And I think like Miss Moneypenny's went the same year, but I think it was Babushka in Birmingham. A lot of these big brands, these big clubbing brands, disappeared in about 2008. Yeah, it kind of took a bit of a dip there. I mean, we got heavily involved with drugs and things like that, and you know, and it just got really messy. So I took a break out of the industry for a few years, and got myself clean, basically. Got myself a 9 to 5. That's where I learned how to be a plumber on my kind of like hiatus from DJing.
Oh wow!
And I wasn't actually going to go back to DJing. I kind of set my. I was that frightened of going back into a club again because of the stuff that comes with it. You know, the drinking, excessive drinking, the drug taking, and all that stuff. So I was kind of like, I was really weary about stepping back into that environment again, just for my own sanity and safety. You know, I'd spent like a year or so out. But funnily enough, the guy who I set up Love Zoo with lost the club. He ended up living at my house. And he ended up getting a job at Gatecrasher as their promotions manager. So he came home one day and he said to me, he says, Nathan, he says, we need somebody in the back room at Gatecrasher. I think this was about 2008, 2009. He says, we need somebody in the back room on a Saturday night. And I went, yeah. And he says, do you fancy doing it? And I went, well, I'm not sure whether I really want to be going back into the industry. Like, you know, I've just sorted my life out and I'm back on track and I'm pretty happy. And he says, it's £175. And I went, oh, put me down for Saturday night then. And that's literally how my journey with Gatecrasher started there. Wow. So.
And what year would this have been?
That was 2000. I think it was 2008.
Okay.
That was the Gatecrasher Nottingham. So my friend had took on the promotions manager's job. He was living at my house because everything had gone horribly wrong with the brand, the club, and all that kind of stuff. It just got really messy.
At that time, obviously, I weren't aware of anything financially or economically that was going on because I was about 10 years old. But obviously a lot of places, businesses and whatnot took hits. Did sort of like the Gatecrashers, the ministries withstand it then?
Yeah. I mean, there was a kind of like, there was a little era where there was the Super Club took over because you had all these these funky house nights, and then you kind of had the era of the Super Club. So you had what's it called, the Syndicate in Blackpool. Obviously Gatecrasher was like really big up in Sheffield, and they seemed to survive it. I know Gatecrasher, the club they had in Sheffield, only stopped running because of the fire. And obviously out of the fire, obviously the club burnt to the ground.
When was this?
Might have been in about 2000. I think it was 2006, 2007.
And they never reopened then?
No, Gatecrasher Sheffield never reopened again.
Bloody hell! Which one is it then that was doing the regular trance night? Was that Leeds?
Area. The which one, recently or?
Yeah, like the last Gatecrasher that's still about.
Yeah, I mean they were running events. They were running events called a club called Area.
Okay. Under the Gatecrasher name.
Well, they were using the word club, and the Gatecrasher were putting on the Gatecrasher event.
Okay.
At Area, but it was the owner of Gatecrasher that had the club. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah. A bit confusing, but yeah, I get you.
So basically, all the Gatecrashers closed down at one point. It went into administration. Birmingham was the last one to go. Birmingham went. It lost its license. It didn't go out of business. It lost its license for some incident on the door.
It was a stabbing on the door.
Yeah. And then Simon opened the club in Sheffield called Area. Right. Which he had for a few years, and he didn't open it quite straight away. But and then all of a sudden, I got a phone call and says, "Can you work Saturday night?" So they opened it as Area. Right. And then they started putting Gatecrasher events on there, and then obviously they did the Gatecrasher classical stuff as well, which were great. I don't know did you go to any of those Gatecrasher classical events with the orchestra and stuff?
No, I mean, I got to be honest with you. I think I was just a bit, almost, I don't want to say young and dumb, but just like, I'm very much like if it ain't 128, I ain't interested. You know what I mean? I was a bit stupid for a few years, and I kind of just had that on me. Now I'm listening to more like I love my 124, 125 stuff, and even like the 100 BPM slower stuff I like. I've kind of opened up my mind to things a bit more, but I don't know, the orchestral Creamfields and things like that have never really grabbed me, but I don't know. If it happened again, I'd probably try it.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I wouldn't have chose to go to one, but because I've worked for Gatecrasher for God knows how many years. They kept me busy from about 2008 all the way up until a couple of years ago. So that was Gatecrasher was a massive part of my life, and within that company, I've done X amount a lot, not just as a DJ. I've been on promotions. I've been like site manager. You know, you name the job. I've had the title.
Mm-hmm. So how did that kind of, how did Area and then the Gatecrasher kind of promotion happen there then? How did that come about? Was it just,
I think Simon just thought it was a great idea to put, obviously it was so like Gatecrasher in Sheffield was a real big institution for a lot of people, and Simon really wanted to open another club in Sheffield. He just hadn't found the right venue, or he couldn't get a license. Basically, couldn't find the right license. So Sheffield, I don't know if it was somebody on the council that was being a bit funny about stuff. I know he was bidding for a few places, and then all of a sudden this club came up. It used to be Kingdom, and Simon went, "Yeah, we'll take it on." So I spent quite a bit of time helping. Obviously, I'm quite good with my hands, so we helped build it basically. And then he didn't do anything with it for ages. He kind of sat on it, and then all of a sudden, I got a phone call. I completely forgotten about it. Thought it was a write-off, and he said, "Will you come and DJ every Saturday night there?" And it got. I mean, he didn't open it as a Gatecrasher. Then it was like what you said. It was a cheap drinks promotion. Get in free before 11, and the cheap drinks thing. But it got the cool crowd in because it was something new and big and stuff. And I got a chance to go right across. You could play a bit of tech house at the beginning. You could play a bit of house, play a bit of commercial house. You could play a bit of the old EDM stuff. You know, you could go right across the board with it because there was a pocket of cool kids in there as well.
Yeah,
so I think the only like cool clubs in Sheffield is probably Tank.
Right, got you.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a 3,000 capacity venue as well. So it was like, and they packed it out for a year. There was 2,500, 3,000 people in there every Saturday night. And then they were doing the Gatecrasher event. So how the Gatecrasher event came along, that area was Gatecrashers coming back to Sheffield. So it was a real big deal. Sheffield, because Sheffield was an institution for Gatecrasher, then it was almost like the perfect fit. So obviously they build these Gatecrasher events in there.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, I'm assuming you've probably heard about it or seen, but I kind of saw things. I think it was end of 2019, to do with like trance gigs that was happening there. I believe.
Yeah, it was basically booking like the old like Scott Bond was one of the original Gatecrasher residents and things like that. So they were doing and Gatecrasher was originally born on trance. So so it was literally they were going back to the roots basically. So they went back. So obviously like when Sheffield Club burnt down and Birmingham opened, they had to be a little bit more. I think that the dynamics of Clubland had changed. You had to be, to get the numbers through the door, you had to be a little bit more commercial. You know what I mean?
I don't even think it's like the mass drink selling and the cheap drink. That doesn't bother me so much. It's more the model of, relying solely on, just mass selling drinks at a cheap price and not putting any time into entertainment. Like I'm not talking about, the local resident that plays the Prism or whatever is crap. What I'm talking about is people aren't going to see him, no offense, because he hasn't, you know, got a massive name yet. People go and see him alongside some big artists. But I think what we need to be trying to attract into clubs is a big artist or a couple of big artists with support, because then you'll end up getting fans of those artists going into the venue. They're going to behave themselves. You ain't going to get nightclubs all over the country with fucking people fighting each other every bloody night. people are going to behave themselves because they're going to want to get kicked out from seeing their favorite artist.
Definitely.
So I think it'll bring about a better atmosphere.
Well, I think this is where festivals have become so popular, because literally because of the I can't think of the word, because of the amount of diversity you've got on the actual booking. You know, you can have a little bit of this, and this is what I was saying about you in a club. You used to be able to stack up 3 or 4 different acts, yet you can't do that nowadays. It just has to be one and then a warm up, because you can't afford to put 4 or 5 different. And this is why like everyone's gone festival mad, because you can stack your lineup up and you can actually, like, you know, you can please them. You know what I mean? You've got a diverse kind of environment for people, and people have got a choice. You know, they can, and that's been taken out of clubland because nobody can afford to put 5 different headline acts on a one night. So you lose that kind of, unless they're really into that, the headliner act, you know.
I don't even think it's a case of, like, you know, when things reopen, you know, let's book Afrojack this weekend, David Guetta the next, you know, Hardwell or wherever, the one after. I think it's a case of doing similar to like what Ministry does, where let's just get Benny Benassi first weekend back. Then, you know, second weekend go third party, third weekend get some trance guys in.
Yeah,
you know, that kind of thing. Anything to sort of start bringing back that kind of model that you get at digital, that you get at Motion and Ministry, where people are going and they're gonna, at the end of the day, I think it's a win-win for the promoter, or certainly for the club, for example, because they're going to be making a lot more money off of the tickets, and they're still going to have people spending at the bar.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's going to bring about a much better atmosphere. That this is the thing I go on about all the time to people. I always say I've been to over 100 raves at Ministry. I've been to Creamfields 3 times, Tomorrowland twice. I've been to raves all over the country. I've had so many times. Plus, and then I've also experienced, you know, going to, you know, the local clubs, going into Birmingham on nights out the past few years. I've never ever once seen or had any trouble at a rave ever. And then the opposite, when you go into an average nightclub where, you know, it's like that commercial thing where everyone's just trying to get pissed up. I've almost guaranteed seen people fighting, and almost every other night, because I'm one of the biggest lads in my group of friends, they all fucking go for me, and it's like, it makes a shit atmosphere. So, and this is the thing that bugs me more than anything. I think that people have got to get out their heads, is looking at, I suppose you could call Ministry, Digital, the old Gate Crashers, a rave scene. But people kind of think, oh, it's a rave, or they're all drugged up, they're all nutters. No. Anybody who's been to a rave, who's into the rave scene in any way whatsoever, will tell you that you just don't get problems at raves. I've never had a problem with anyone. I've never seen a problem. You bump into somebody, it's all love. Sorry, pal. Sorry, mate. You know, all good. You end up being friends with them sometimes. Whereas at the opposite, you've got nightclubs nowadays where most of them, the guys are walking around with their Gucci shoes and they're, you know, all these different branded jeans. The girls have got all the different brands on. It's very pretentious, and it's very much so everybody just, oh, look at me. And then, you know, oh, big bollocks Jimmy's coming down and he wants to fight with everyone. It's like, you don't get that at raves, because everyone just shuts the fuck up and enjoys themselves. It's like, leave your ego at the door and let's just have fun.
Definitely.
I think that's so important to a good atmosphere.
Alcohol, ego, you know, and all that involved. And and I think it's this whole bottle culture that's kind of seems to be rife. I don't know. I mean, yeah, the whole dynamics of the whole industry's changed. I mean, the doorman now have to have these badges and stuff, and before, you know, certain people wouldn't get into clubs because, you know, you had a certain doorman on the door not letting them in, and he'd be a local gangster probably, you know what I mean, and what he said went in that club.
Yeah,
You know, you haven't. When the door light, I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing that the licensing came in, but in some respects, those people that were feared on the door were taken away from the door, and now you've got these licensed kids that have got doormen aren't allowed to engage in fights. You've got this list of rules that you've got to adhere to, and people get into clubs that shouldn't be in there. Do you know what I mean? There's that trouble causing element there.
Right.
And I mean, when I just remember when I first started going clubbing, it was like the doormen, like they were feared, and you didn't step out of line in that venue, otherwise you'd been getting frog marched out, and like they'd be opening the fire doors with your head. You know, and
you've been ministry as well. You've seen the bloody security in there. Like they're all dressed in all black. They're massive dudes. They're all in like military gear. You don't want to mess with them because they're massive, and there's like 20 of them.
They've got the fear factor, haven't they? You know, but ministry's model is different from I'd say commercial venues. You know what I mean? It's a clubbing crowd. Definitely a clubbing crowd. So it attracts a different kind of like clientele than you would your local nightclub.
It's difficult though, because like I think there's so many, you know, the smaller towns in this country where there's no raves near them. You know, people like me where you have to travel to either London or somewhere far from where you live. But you look at these smaller towns and whatnot where they've just got maybe a local nightclub. And these people, you know, they go to work, they do the 9 to 5, they listen to the radio when they're in the car. They've never even experienced dance music or heard it in any way whatsoever. And so a lot of these people don't even know that these, you know, these venues and this kind of music and this whole culture exists. And it's like, this is what you're doing now when you go out to your nightclub. This is what all that used to be. Like, this is what it was. It's mad. It's mad. I think if anything, like the one thing that I want to be able to do in life is to bring dance music back to this country the way it used to be. That's my one goal in life. Like if I can do that, life's complete for me. Because if you go to, I think like even if you go, especially Asia, I think Asia more than anywhere at the moment is just killing it. You know, every single club out there is just dance music, mad. And you know, you've got obviously Holland, that their dance music mad as well. Germany, I think, is coming through quite well. They've got a lot of festivals, dance music related, a lot of big clubs opening. They've got a lot of established clubs. So I think we considering the heritage we have and the history we have, dance music related, and the amount of sort of what we have behind it and what we've created for dance music to be where it is today, I think we really should be doing better in terms of what we offer to people that aren't into it yet.
Definitely, but I think there's a lot of like, you know, like saying that there's been a lot of pushback from kind of like, so Germany have got, I think there's a law in Germany, and some clubs are protected under the same law like national heritage. Like, you know, if we've got a listed building, some of their clubs are actually protected under laws. So do you know like what happened with Ministry? Like, you know, if an apartment block opens up across from a club, then starts making complaints. In Germany, I don't think they can close down a venue because the venue was there first. It's protected under certain laws. Now, what's happened in the UK is all the politicians and stuff, all this city centre living came about in about 2000 and something. And a lot of venues, I mean, over the past 10 years, I think 8,000 venues have gone. in the UK. I mean, the dynamics have changed. You know, people's social habits have changed as well. But I know a lot of the clubs in my hometown, Nottingham, were like, they built these apartments and they were above clubs, and the clubs were gone like a year later because of all the complaints. And how is that like healthy for the city? So, you know, like a lot of the councils and licensing police and stuff are to blame for the demise of clubland in the UK, I think, personally. And they should be protecting them. I've always said, like, how can you warrant, like, the club was there first, but obviously, you know, the construction is big money for these councils.
Yeah, you know, this is the thing. We've lost our souls, and we've kind of gone, okay, let's just make money. Let's just sell houses, build houses, sell houses, build houses. And what we've ended up doing, another thing as well, I'm not a big fan of houses being built these days. Like, they look terrible, a lot of them. Sorry for living in a new house. But they all look the same. There's no character to them. And they're just being built on these places, particularly clubs. But there's a lot of places being knocked down that were great for the community, that brought people together, that got people, you know, after work on the weekends, things like that, to come together and enjoy life. Because at the end of the day, what are we doing if we ain't happy in life? We're supposed to be here to enjoy life. If we're not enjoying life and we're not able to do these things that make us happy, why are we here? Why are we bothering? You know, so if you've got to replace that nightclub that you're going to knock down and put all these apartments up with, you've got to put something else in there, in that town, that the people can sort of come together.
Definitely.
Because like my town is, again, you know, we've got like a we've had like a long standing like Fever type club, and then Pop World bought it out a couple years ago. We had like a Moo Moos, I don't know if you remember them. That was small like chain similar to Fever. That got knocked down because of housing. And bearing in mind, these are like tiny little 200 cap clubs, so they're not much anyway. It's a monstrously big town. Like, there's so much land. There's all these dead factories that there's nothing been happening with them. They don't use the land for there. It's such a stupid way of thinking, because at the end of the day, you're just going to have a load of people living. That's in the sense that they're alive, but they're not actually doing anything. Well, no, you're going to work, they're coming home, and that's it. Like, what are you going to be able to sell to people?
Exactly.
And tourism as well. You think about, like, Jesus Christ. I bet back in the day when Gatecrasher was around, Birmingham's tourism would have been a lot better. So would have Nottingham's and all these other cities.
I mean, people used to be coming in from. I mean, Nottingham used to be a club in Mecca, for out of town people. Like a lot of DJs. I mean, you could go see Roger Sanchez on a Thursday night somewhere.
Wow.
And there'd be something popping every night of the week. But then, like, you know, and people used to come from all over the thing, and then all of a sudden, like, they gave the bars late licenses and didn't give the clubs extended licenses till 6. And I know Gatecrasher Birmingham had some of the toughest door restrictions I've ever seen.
Really?
On that venue. Yeah, metal detectors, all that kind of stuff on the door.
They've still got all that there now.
Yeah,
the club's changed, but Birmingham hasn't.
Birmingham City Council, and that's down to the licensing police. And I know, you know, there have been incidents. You know, there's something with the doorman that lost them the license in the end. You know, it wasn't the actual incident that happened; it was how the door team handled this situation.
Right.
Which is a shame, but still, they had all these things on the door. It's like, I've lost my thought there, but the councils have a lot to answer for, and the licensing police have a lot to answer for when it comes to granting these licenses. I mean, Digbeth used to be such a thriving and fantastic place to be. Like, what a melting pot of culture that is. And then was it the Rainbow Rooms? What a venue that was. I played there lucky enough to play there a few times, but there's one little incident and they lose the license, you know, and it's like,
it's ridiculous.
Like, all the stuff that Gatecrasher had given the city, like all like what I'm saying about people coming in from out of town just to go to maybe that event on the 12th. You know, you got Nicky Romero, Hardwell, but that happened. There was people coming week in, week out. All the revenue from the hotels, all the cafes in the morning where people get in the break. Do you know what I mean? Everybody benefited from having something like that on the doorstep. Yet the
Massively.
county licensing police were totally fucking against it, and
Mm.
it's, you know, it's frustrating, and it's the same kind of thing that happened in Nottingham as well with the licensing police. A very old, backward, I call it backward way of thinking, very old school, and don't kind of like the police don't want the trouble, so the least amount of venues that are open and the less venues with later licenses, the better, really. You know, because the amount of times I walk around my hometown, come out of club at 4 o'clock in the morning, there's somebody from a Hindu or somebody come from Liverpool, and you're bumping into them in the street, like, yo, mate, where can we go? I'm like, there's nowhere you can go. Like, that's it now. Clubbing's done. Bye, go home. You know.
But that's depressing.
Yeah, it's depressing because, you know, these people have heard how great Nottingham is, or, you know,
Yeah.
and they can't go and party till stupid o'clock. They can't go and party for 24 hours, you know.
But Jesus
So,
Christ, that's why we need to be bringing back 24-hour parties. My God.
party. Yeah,
My God.
definitely.
Because there's the appetite for it. You go into some clubs now and you'll be bumping into people that have been drinking since 2 in the afternoon just because they want to get that 24 hours in. Oh God.
Yeah,
But yeah, that is a really good shout. Like I've never really thought about that, but that's a really good shout of almost making certain clubs listed.
yeah,
You know, I think,
definitely.
you know, people, you know, we have a kind of thing in this country where we've got listed houses, you know, all the thatched cottages, and, you know,
Oh,
Stratford is listed and all these
yeah,
different places, because it's history of this country. It's important. It's
yeah,
culture. It's what brings people into this country.
yeah,
So are these clubs.
yeah,
Ministry
yeah,
is
yeah,
a
yeah,
melting pot. Like you've
yeah,
said, you'll be able to speak to it as well. Not only people
yeah,
just coming from other cities to Nottingham, to Birmingham, to London, to wherever, but
yeah,
people come internationally into this country to these shows to see these
yeah,
people. You know,
definitely.
so I think they've really got to
Why
keep
not?
that in
Why
mind.
not protect culture? It's like
Massively.
the arts and the nightlife in today is was the fifth biggest growing economy before, you know, it acquainted for 74 billion pounds worth of revenue, and not one single um not one single, I think out of all of the Tories, not one single party benefits, not one MP benefits from the nightlife industry, or that the arts and entertainment industry. So
So
that's why,
give it the old middle finger then, yeah.
yeah, basically, yeah. If you notice, like the other industries, you know, it's like everybody's had a helping hand, haven't they? I'm
It's
not saying like furlough hasn't worked for some companies, but like, you know, like they still have to pay people's pensions and all of that stuff as well. You know, it's kind of like it's then you've got the theatre industry as well that's been left hanging out to dry. It's literally they've took a giant dump on the arts. anything where people go and have fun, the cinemas, you know, the pubs, the restaurants.
the reason why we're alive, people. We're
Yeah,
alive to enjoy ourselves, to be
just,
happy. We're not
stuff
alive.
every,
I do like gardening, don't get me wrong, but I don't live
yeah,
for gardening. I do it as a
no,
job to be
no.
able to, go out on the weekend and do all these other stuff.
Yeah, I live for plumbing. No, I don't. Literally.
Cool, these
Well, don't,
valves are really getting me going today.
it gives me a living, but it doesn't make me want to live.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you know, I'm probably sure you enjoy your job. I enjoy my job too. I think that's the
Yeah,
thing. Like, you can enjoy your job, but at the end of the day, most of us still work and we're not doing our dream job full time. And
no,
so it's almost maybe a hobby, or it's something that we like to do when we're not working. So we just got
yeah.
to keep those things in mind, because it's massively important to people being happy.
It's an out. It's an outlet. It's an outlet.
Mm,
Really an outlet for me. You know, and it is when I'm actually engaged full time. it becomes like a job and it loses its sparkle.
Mm.
You know, I remember when I went for my first season in Ibiza, and it was fantastic. But 3 months in, like, and you've been DJing 15 hours a day every day, and you don't get like any time off because all the Spanish like want you to work. You know what I mean? All the way through that season from
They give you
beginning.
a couple of hours sleep in between your gig.
Yeah, that's where they make all the money, and it's kind of like when you're doing it full time, when you're doing your passion full time, it's great to a certain aspect, but it can lose its sparkle. So it's good to it's good not. But I mean, then like it kind of like a few years back, it was like I made a decision to go back into it full time again and kind of, do you know what I mean, pursue that. And like I spoke at the beginning, got everything back in place again, doing it full time, 4 gigs a week, and then working as a promotions manager for Prism, and it was kind of like snatched away again, and it's kind of like, but yeah, we'll get back there
for sure, mate, for sure.
We'll get
couple of fun questions I'm going to ask you now, so it can be a bit light, but
yeah.
So I want you to tell me, what's the worst situation you've had during a gig? Maybe something power-wise has gone off, or somebody's done something, or something's happened with the decks.
I've had the power go off on me a few times at a gig. Yeah. I've actually put the wrong record on. I did that at Gatecrasher Birmingham once. I just get booed. I think I queued up the wrong, because there was always 4 decks, and sometimes I used to get lost in the moment and forget which one I queued up, and then like I can't remember whether I've hit play on the track I was playing. Like, so
oh God.
Yeah. My worst experience. I'll tell you my worst experience. From not a lot of people know this, but I actually went to buy a record in my friend's record shop, and I got into an argument with somebody, and somebody pulled out a samurai sword on me and stabbed me.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
That's my worst kind of experience, like in a kind of
My God.
Yeah.
Christ, how did that come about then? Was that just you were just
well, so every Friday, every Thursday, Friday, I can't even remember. So we had this club night going, and we used to go around town, give out flyers and stuff. My friend had a record shop, and we used to go and drop the flyers off, leave them on leave a poster on the wall, and drop some flyers off, see if anybody in the shop wanted the guest list. So we was just doing kind of like the regular visit. So we walked into a shop, and there was literally this kid in there, and he was just going absolutely nuts at the guys behind the counter. So I intervened. I just said, "Come on, mate, there's no need for this." You know what I mean? Like, because I was sticking up for my friends behind the counter. There's no need for this. Calm yourself down a bit. And he was just firing off in my face. And then he walked to the door as if he was going out, and he just turned around and pulled out a miniature samurai sword, and then just started trying to chop everybody in the shop. So I was like, he was coming towards me with it. I was like, look, don't be stupid, put the thing away. And then he ended up stabbing me in my side there.
Oh my God.
That was kind of like, I wouldn't say that was a DJing experience, but that was kind of like a club kind of like
music related, yeah.
Related thing, yeah.
Jesus. So walk me through what happened then, if you don't mind.
What afterwards?
Well, I mean, obviously he got you then. So was everyone else okay, or?
All right, so no, it'd gone through my upper bowel, and missed my heart by a quarter of an inch. Now he ran around the counter, so I saw that as my cue to exit. So I kind of like ran out of the shop, and my friend's outside the shop. And then we're walking down. I was like, go. And then we were like laughing about, crikey, that was a mad experience, wasn't it? And he was like, yeah, flipping it. So like, that was crazy. It was like, yeah, well. And I've literally walked, and we're laughing, we're joking about it. And I've walked 200 yards down the road out the shop, and I've put my hand there and it felt wet. I was like, wow, it's wet there. Why is it wet? And I looked at my hand and it's completely red. It's obviously blood. And I've lifted up my top and there's just this hole in my side and it's just squirting out blood. And that's when I went dizzy. That's when I knew I'd kind of been stabbed. So the adrenaline had completely, I didn't even feel it. I didn't even feel it go in. I thought it just brushed me and I thought I'd got away with it and ran out of the shop like, and that.
Was everyone else all right as well, or?
I mean, the kids behind the counter, obviously, I think I don't know how it was diffused, but the lad ran behind the counter. I think they locked the door and the kid ran off out the shop.
Okay.
So he didn't get anybody else.
Yeah.
And then, it was kind of like weak and intense. I kind of sat in this ambulance and I was on the floor outside this shop and the newsagent were bringing out the tissues and stuff and obviously the ambulance around came and then passed out in the ambulance, and that's I woke up in a hospital bed with like a 12-inch scar all the way down there because obviously they had to open me up to.
Oh my God! Wow.
So yeah, week in intensive care, and it took me about 6 months before I could walk again. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot. I'd say it was a life-changing experience, definitely.
Yeah, well, I can imagine you definitely you had a whole new vision on life after that.
Yeah, definitely.
And so did that kind of affect you wanting to go out and mix again? Or?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was. Obviously, I didn't PTSD basically, but I didn't know. I used to have panic attacks and things like that. And then I was a little reluctant to go back out again. Yeah, after that, it took me a while to get back out. I think I went out. I think I tried going out. I still had my stitches in, and I tried going clubbing, and it was just. I think one of my stitches had come out, and it was like, oh no, I can't do this. So I had to wait till I was old. So although I was like apprehensive about it, I was still eager to get back out and socializing again.
How old would you have been at this point?
I was 27.
Wow. And so what was kind of, how long did you have to wait before you could kind of go back to an event and start DJing again?
It wasn't long because obviously we had these, do you know what I mean? We had the lease on the club and stuff, so it was kind of like it wasn't long before I was back in there again and enjoying myself.
Yeah.
Probably 6 months, 7 months. It put me out for but the healing process, the mental stuff, that's kind of like that's where there was a lot of drinking and drug taking involved, that self-medicating kind of thing. It was kind of like I had this trauma, but I didn't know what to do with it, and kind of that the drinking and the drugs took that away. So it kind of that was a catalyst for a spiral downwards, really. But then that led me to also stop drinking, stop that lifestyle I was living. It was a period of 2 years. It was almost like that incident happened to me, and it went downhill from there, kind of thing. And the drinking got worse, and the drug taking got worse, and then it kind of hit a rock bottom. And then that was where I made a decision to kind of like, that's it. And that's where I got the new life from. That's where things started to really happen, really, when I quit and had that little breather from the industry.
Well, yeah, I mean, like they say, sometimes things have to get worse before they get better, but
this is it. I've been through worse situations than this lot. I don't know. I'm saying that I've been through worse situations than this, but it's kind of like
it's difficult, isn't it? Because it tests us in a different way. It really
does.
It
is. Yeah, and I know it's not. Although I had lots of things to go back to, although I had that trauma, I still had things to go back to. There was still stuff going on.
It was all there. It was ready when you are.
All there ready for me to step back into. But now at the minute, it's kind of like we've all been. I'd say I've been traumatized by it all.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll kind of share my experience as well because I've particularly, I'd say, um, maybe the past year and a half or so, I've
Yeah,
suffered really bad with anxiety, like horrendous
yeah,
anxiety.
yeah,
And I've never kind of understood these kind of things before because like I've never been like anxiety. Like, what do you mean? And like
yeah,
but it was kind of probably a build up of a few different things. I had a couple things go wrong when I was sort of 17, 18 when I was building my business, and then
yeah,
I lost a lot of money with a few different things, and so that built up a lot of stress. I was only 18, 19. I
yeah.
was losing,
Having to
let's
deal
say,
with some.
thousands. I was losing a lot of money on
Yeah,
different things, and it weren't being young and dumb. It was just kind of making wrong business decisions, if you will.
yeah,
And so that built up a lot of stress in me. But where it kind of probably, you could say, the egg cracked, was I was going down to ministry for a
yeah,
gig in September, end of September 2019.
yeah,
Bearing in mind, April of 2019, I had my first ever gig at ministry.
yeah.
Um,
Brilliant.
it was playing alongside W&W. Funnily enough, it was
Brilliant.
it was 3 years on to the day from when I saw them at my first ever rave.
Ah.
So that was so special. I've got
That-
that
that-
got that poster
right.
framed here next to my desk,
Yeah, good.
because
Yeah,
that was, yeah. I mean, I'd been listening to those guys in high school when I was like 12, 13 years old when they were coming through Revealed. So that meant the world to me. And I'd worked pretty hard to be able to, get in there and be able to go and play. It meant
yeah,
everything to me. And so, yeah, like I say, April, May, June, July, August, played gigs all through the summer at ministry, was having the best time of my life.
yeah,
Get a bit of anxiety talking about it now. But basically, September, I think it was like last day of September or whatever. I've got this gig. I'm going down, I think it's a trance night. I think it's to support Solarstone. And it's like I think it's his label night. So anyway, I'm going down there. And I'm on the M40 going down the motorway. You might actually know the M. I don't know if you know it at all. The
yeah,
M40. It's sort
yeah,
of like where Gaydon is.
yeah, yeah,
Know that at all? Okay, well, you'll know exactly where this happened then.
yeah.
So
Exactly.
basically, I'm going down the road, and then I'm in the right hand lane doing, a little over 70 miles an hour, shall we say? What the traffic is doing, 75.
Yeah, yeah,
Or the speedo read that anyway. It probably was 70.
yeah,
But but yeah,
yeah, yeah,
I was tootling along anyway. Just nothing too much in sixth gear. Just pedaling along, and then out of nowhere, the car just goes bang, and basically all of a sudden, there was almost like a fireball in front of me.
yeah,
I couldn't see anything in front of me. It was just like black with smoke. Um, Bearing in mind as well, I'm talking rush hour on a Friday, so it could not be busier.
yeah,
So the car's just gone bang. There's smoke all in front of me. I can't see anything. So bearing in mind I'm doing 80 miles an hour, there's cars in front of me, behind me, to my left, everywhere. So I'm now shitting myself because I don't know where I'm going. And I'm like, okay, I've got all of this going on and I think I'm on fire. So I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to die. And it was horrible. I mean, this car, I'd spent a little bit of money on it, as you do.
yeah,
It was one of my favorite cars. It was a performance car, so I'd spent a bit of
yeah,
money on it, and it just went bang. But it was a case of, okay, I genuinely thought for like the next 60 seconds I'm going to die because I can't accelerate anymore because the engine basically had exploded, so I
yeah,
can't go anywhere. All I can do is steer and brake, but there's a car to my left, there's a car in front of me and behind me. I'm like, what am I going to do? So I kind of like put my hazards on, kind of moved over slowly, like shimmied over. I think
yeah,
people could see what was happening. And, I managed to get to the hard shoulder. and yeah, just kind of sat on the side of the on the motorway, you know, as you go down that motorway, it's almost like verges either side. And I remember just sitting on the verge, just looking down and thinking, I've lost probably the best part of £5 here because I've lost the car and you know, all the cancelling the insurance, all that fees, and more importantly, I've lost my ministry gigs. So I couldn't have been more depressed. It was horrendous.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, my world had basically ended at that point. So it was kind of like, okay, you know, just kind of had to deal with things.
Yeah.
Luckily, that night when I got home, because I think this was about 7 o'clock, you know, tow truck came at 8 o'clock. I remember just sitting there for about an hour, just watching all these cars go past. I was freezing my nuts off because I didn't have a coat because it just finished summer. It was slowly getting darker and colder, and I was freezing. I was just thinking, it was the worst feeling ever. But I got picked up. I got home probably like almost midnight.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember, you know, like I just had to text the promoter and just say, you know, I'm sorry I let you down, but you know, it is what it is. Not a lot I can do really. And luckily the promoter got back to me, and that night they offered me the main room gig that I then ended up playing.
Awesome.
So kind of off that, it turned into a good thing, you know, because at that point through the summer I'd been playing all the gigs in the side rooms.
Yeah.
So I'd been looking at the main room, like, it was just like an absolute, it was number one goal in life to do it one day. And then to have that offered to me on what was initially one of the worst days of my life, it was a real weird thing. But ever since then, even still, it obviously that was a horrendously traumatic moment for me because A, I thought I was going to die. Then B, I lost the best part of £5 at the age of 20, 21. You know, I'm not Mr. Moneybags. I've not got money all over the place, so it was a lot of money for me. And so it caused horrendous anxiety for me. And then this past year has just made it even worse. And yeah, it's odd because I always used to think that anxiety was almost like, you know, just snap out of it. But that for me, anxiety is a subconscious thing where I'm not actually in here. I'm not aware that I'm worried about anything. But I have really bad problems with my breathing. Like I'm getting it now, where I'm struggling to breathe. And like I've been to the doctors about it and everything. And the doctors are frigging useless sometimes. Like God bless them, but Jesus, all they've said to me is, just use that Calm app. It's brilliant. I'm like, or if you know you're still worried, then we can give you some pills. And it's like,
oh no,
do better, please. Like fuck's sake, I don't want pills, but can you help me at all? Give me anything. So
meditation is really good for anxiety and stuff. Breathing, it's all about the breathing for me. It can really lower your anxiety levels. I tend to avoid anything caffeinated.
Really?
That set me on a bit of a whoo.
Oh really?
Yeah, I mean, I did stress kicks it off for me as well a bit. And sometimes it gets me unawares. The other night I was worrying about, I had almost an anxiety, like worrying about something that was really trivial. So sometimes it just gets you, comes out of nowhere and you're worrying about something. And I've got quite an overactive brain. I like to think, I mean, do you know what I mean? I like overthink everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I find meditation and definitely the breathing that comes with the meditation really good for anxiety.
I should probably look into it.
Just as you were sharing that, I have thought of a really funny story that happened to me while I was DJing once.
Please.
So a while back, Public Enemy came to Nottingham years ago, quite a few years ago. I was still drinking at the time. And they were my childhood idols, big hip hop act. So my friend, she was a promoter, and she rang me up and says, "Look, I'll support DJs, let us down. Can you come and warm up for Public Enemy. I was like, yeah, like, you know what I mean? So I dragged all my old hip hop out. This is brilliant. So I went for a few drinks before, and I had a few too many drinks before because I was so full of nerves. So they had this stage set up, and there was a big backdrop at the back of the stage, and there was the DJ booth, and then they had a band around them as well. There was like a drum kit, and I think there was a few other things scattered around the DJ booth. So I got to the venue, and I got ushered to the DJ box, and I'm setting up like my records and stuff, and the venue filled up. There's 2,000 people in there at this point, and I've lost my balance a little. I can't remember what happened. I think I might have stepped out of the DJ box to get something to put it in there. And as I'm stepping back up, bearing in mind there's 2,000 people watching everything that I'm doing, all the spotlights are on me. So behind the drape, I thought was a solid wall, and it wasn't. There was nothing there, and I've lost my balance a little bit. I went to put my hand on this drape, and I literally fell straight out the DJ booth and through the drum kit, like in front of 2,000 people, and they were all clapping and cheering. Oh dear, it was the most embarrassing. I think that was, for me, the most embarrassing moment ever, because the sound engineer had mic'd the drum kit up and stuff as well, so he was in a right off. I'm like, oh my god, like this gig in my dreams is dead.
That's hilarious. Oh god.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus. Oh god.
After that point, the gig went really well, and I really enjoyed it. I got to meet the band, and they signed a T-shirt which I've still got, and they signed some records for me. But
that's the same as me, because like that, yeah. I imagine that was probably one of your ultimate gigs where you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, the same thing happened. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah. There's been a few, I managed to warm up for Layback Luke, and Benny Benassi was always a big one for me as well. So, over the years, my taste in DJs have changed, and Roger Sant, I managed a lot of the DJs that I've idolized, I've managed to warm up for or be on the same bill as, which is great, so that I never lose that excitement. If I'm into a DJ at the time and I get the chance to play for them, I still get that same level of excitement. Fully. But that one was a real special one, because that was an out of the blue one. This was years down the line. I mean, they'd stopped touring, and you know what I mean? This was like 15 years on, 20 years on, you know what I mean? It was like, was like it was a childhood dream that just came out of the blue. I didn't even know they were playing that night. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I had the same thing with this big gig in November at Ministry, where I had something go wrong on my first track. I'll make it quick, because people are probably so bored of this story by this point. I've told it a few times now. But basically, I was swapping over from the previous DJ. He was kind of like headline spot, and then I was going kind of like co-headline spot. I think he played like half one to maybe 1 till half 2, and then I played half 2 till 4, and then someone went on 4 till 5 after me. So he kind of said his thanks and whatnot to the crowd whilst his last track was playing. Obviously I popped my USB in one of the CDJs, and then he said his goodbyes to everybody, and bosh, sorted, bang, I press play on my track. Start playing my track, start clapping for the crowd, trying to get people G'd up. And about 15 seconds into the intro, I noticed that the song isn't really progressing anymore. And I'm like, okay, normally there's a bit more of a progression in the track's intro here, but I'm just hearing the same 4 beats.
Yeah.
Turns out, turns out, when he exited the DJ booth, he took with him my USB, not his.
Oh no!
And so, biggest gig of my life, my first track. It's a pretty much a sold out crowd, because like these guys are serious good promoters, and so it was a sold out crowd. I'm looking at all these people. My track is doing a 4-beat loop. Bearing in mind as well, I've never been in this position before because I've only ever had the gigs in the small room at Ministry or been playing on my decks here. I've never pulled out my USB. So I've never seen this 4-beat loop error. I'm clicking on the CDJ. I'm like, what's going on?
Emergency loop mode, and he's gone on your USB. Did he take his USB as well?
No. He left his in. So what happened is I then went to the CDJ where his USB was. I was like, okay, get something up from his quickly. Yeah. So I click on it, and it's like there's like 2 like folders, and they're like folder 1, folder 2, or something like that. Like I like to have mine like I've got like 10 different folders, and they're all like really dedicated to each genre. And he just got like 2, so I'm like, okay, just click on that one, and then I'm looking at tracks, and it's like there's a lot of stuff that he's already played. I'm not going to play that again. So I just click on one that like I kind of recognise it's a Lesso. I think, oh, all right, cool, I'll play that. So I click it, bring it in, and of course, make it worse. It weren't listed as one, but it's actually just an a cappella with a piano behind it. And so I've then mixed out this 4-beat loop, which has been going for the best part of probably 30 seconds, maybe longer, into this Alesso. So it's now just dun 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 piano with Alesso playing behind it. And I'm like, kill me. No. And thank God one of the tech guys was stood by the side of the booth when I went on. So I was screaming at him to go and get my USB back. He brought it back. He sprinted down the stairs and sprinted to me and passed it to me. I got it in. I got my track selected, managed to mix it in off the Alesso one. And then my set started then. But it must have been at least a minute of that. And I remember like the head bouncer came up to me afterwards because I was good mates with them. And he was like, Mike, what happened? I was like, you don't want to know?
Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
First track of the biggest night of my life. Like, so yeah.
Oh, wow.
But this is a thing for people out there, any DJs. Shit will happen. Things will go wrong.
You do. You just got to ride through, and it happens to the best of them. You know, power cuts and things, hitting the cue button. You know, it happens. We've all had it. I mean, I've had the US.
To be fair, going forwards now, I don't have as much anxiety about something going wrong because I can't see anything going as bad as that. Although it may do, but I've experienced it. I know what to do. I'm a bit more prepared.
Yeah, you know? Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, that was something. But thankfully, I will say, all's well that ends well. It was. I was so excited for that night, and I managed to turn it round. You know, I got my first track in, and I ended up having the best night of my life. So it's all good. It's all good. But I do want to kind of bring it round now because obviously we've talked about a few nightmares. I want to hear what is sort of the favourite moment out of any gig you've ever played. What is your highlight moment that you can go, that was the most amazing moment I've ever had on stage?
Oh my God, there's been so many of them. That's the thing. It's hard to pinpoint one. Definitely Ministry of Sound. That was incredible.
With Benassi as well.
Yeah, with Benassi as well. It was just awesome. The whole experience was awesome. It was just, there was a lot of anxiety before the gig, and I changed my set around 50 times, and it was like, I've done this thousands and thousands of times. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, but as soon as luckily I got there, I was playing first off, so I got there half an hour early, and they just let me have a little play while there was nobody in the room. So I managed to customize myself to the room. So I was a bit used to just getting myself used to being there in the environment. So it wasn't just like I was going on from somebody. And that's always the thing when you're going on from somebody, you've got to you have to get that one up. You try and get that one up from them, don't you? If they've absolutely smashed it, you're sitting there thinking, they've played that, shit, I can't play that. Do you know what I mean? You're ticking off what you can and can't play. So there's always that difficult bit, but because it was kind of like there was nobody, you know what I mean, before me, it was just like a nice steady warm up, and the room got busy really quick. It just went like, I was expecting it to drag that first hour always drags normally in a commercial venue, but it just literally just opened the doors and it was busy instantly. It was mad.
It's brilliant.
But there's been so many. I mean, BCM, playing at BCM was brilliant.
Wow. Yeah.
My first time I ever played Gatecrash at Birmingham. I'd worked for Gatecrash for so many years. They'd never let me loose at Birmingham, and I've been at Nottingham for X amount of years. And then all of a sudden, I had my heart and sights set on that main room, like you were saying. You were in the back room, and you had your sights set on. Well, I was at Gatecrash in Nottingham playing in their main room with my sights set on Birmingham main room.
Yeah. Yeah.
All those things where you know what I mean. It's all come together, and you've ticked that box, and you hit those dreams. I think any moment like that for me is a special one. So I can't safely say which one it was, but for me they all play a part, and there's still boxes for me to tick.
Fully.
You know?
Fully.
Yeah.
I think there's always plenty of goals out there for us to achieve.
I think it's how you need to keep resetting your goals, because you know you set a load of goals and then you achieve them and you're like, all right, what do I do now?
Yeah.
You know, you've got to constantly keep yourself ticking by setting yourself new goals.
Yeah.
So otherwise you just fail.
Well, this is it as well. You'll get bored, and people get bored around you, and you ain't gonna get bookings. You know, that's ultimately it's the love that keeps us going with that kind of chasing for it. You know what I mean? Who is your biggest inspiration?
Okay. Recent or past?
Let's go with
or
both.
Just in general. I mean,
what a lot of people like to do on this is they normally state a musical related inspiration and then one in general. But
okay. I mean, I can take my inspiration from anywhere in anything kind of thing, but my biggest musical I mean, certainly in the rave days, it was DJ Psy. The biggest inspiration for me getting into DJing was DJ David. He was a DMC champion.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of like, that's where I thought that looks cool, I want to do that. So he got me into DJing. But I mean, Roger Sanchez was a massive one for me. I think he's just the don when it comes to house music, and he's just got that cool factor for me. So I am a fanboy, and I've managed to play with him a few times as well. DJ Psy was a big one back in the rave days for me. When I first started DJing, he was kind of an idol. He had a part to play in the style of mixing I did and stuff back then. At the minute present, I mean, I'm going to say I'm a bit of a fanboy, but also my friends PBH and Jack, I think, are absolutely smashing it at the minute. They're really inspiring me, but they're both good friends of mine, so it's kind of like really nice to see. But I'm also a massive fanboy as well. So
they're killing it, man. It's awesome to see.
They are killing it. So that's what I mean. I mean, musically, it can come from anywhere. You know, I was having a bit of a when I made this tech house project that I ended up hating in the end. I spent a whole year working on it and ended up hating it. I thought, where am I going to go? And I heard, I just heard a remix of a Kungs track, a remix Kungs had done, and I just heard it and I thought, wow. That lit my fire again. So for me, I can't pin my inspiration on one thing, because it can come from anywhere, whether I'm listening to a song in the car, or whether it be a friend that's smashing it at the minute in the DJ world, or, yeah.
What I'd also like to ask you is, what is your best piece of advice for young and upcoming DJs?
Be prepared to take the rough with the smooth. It's not all plain sailing. it has its peaks and troughs. 1 minute you could be flying high, and the next minute you're back to square one again. I really, that would be my only advice to, and just enjoy what you do. You know, don't get too wrapped up in trying to be too cool. Just enjoy what you do. You know, And I see a lot of young people coming through getting wrapped up in that. Like, I can't play this because it's not cool enough, or you know, just play what you want, and don't get wrapped up in all of that. But yeah, definitely, like you know, just be prepared for the ups, and enjoy the ups. Really enjoy the up, but just be prepared for the down, because every time to every up, there's a down.
Yeah, this is probably about as hard a down as you can get this past year.
Yeah, this one you can't get much more down than this, you know. And it's like, but you know, sometimes you can be just going through that on your own. But at least, like, there's a lot of DJs that are experiencing this now. We're not alone with this. You know what I mean? So we have got that kind of, you know, it's not just us. But there are those times where, you know, like you get a resident, like when Gatecrasher totally went, that was like, what do I do now? That was such a massive part of my life for 8 years, and it gave me so much. Then all of a sudden, that thing has just gone. You know what I mean? It's like, oh crikey, what do I do now?
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, and that was a difficult. That was a low. You know what I mean? So.
But again, like you say, you got to keep getting through those lows, because
the
highs are just, especially I think in the music industry, and particularly being on stage, I don't think there's any better high than being able to play a track that just pleases the crowd and makes everyone go wild. There is no better feeling I've ever experienced.
No, there isn't. And that's what I chase. Yeah, that's what I chase, and that's what makes me feel alive.
Fully. I couldn't agree anymore. I just want to end this with a little game. Okay.
I'm
going to play a little game. What we're going to do is I'm going to name a subgenre, and all I want you to do is say the first thing that comes into your head. Ideally, a word, couple words, or if you think you need to elaborate, you can do. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so first one is progressive house.
My mind's gone blank.
think third party Nicky Romero.
Oh, that kind of progressive house.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Energy.
Beautiful.
Yeah, energy. Because there's two different types of progressive house. There's the
there is
stuff. Yeah.
There is.
And then there was like the Nicky Romero, those energy. Definitely energy.
I see. This is the thing. I actually only discovered like the fact that there was that progressive house, like the Dead Mouse kind of style.
Yeah.
I only really heard about that being called progressive in 2018. I didn't even know that was a thing. All I'd ever known progressive wise was Dub Vision, third party, Nicky Romero, like the uplift.
Yeah, no, definitely the energy. And if we're talking about the other progressive house, I'd say Darkness.
Oh yeah, fully, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Next one, Deep House.
Moody.
Okay. Big Room.
Bouncy.
Like it. Hardstyle.
Hardcore.
Trance.
Gatecrasher.
Yeah, man. Need not say more. Psytrance.
Hippies.
yeah, definitely. That's similar to me. I always say tribal.
Right, yeah.
Bass house.
Bass house. Aggressive.
Techno.
Black.
Okay, yeah, that works. I'm not a massive fan of techno, so I just put never ending.
Right, okay, yeah.
God, oh my God. It's the same track for the past hour.
Yeah, I just associate a lot of techno with black, because a lot of the DJs don't like wearing colour.
Yeah. A lot of dark rooms as well, aren't they? Quite.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that absolutely. Dubstep.
I don't know whether to repeat it on here.
Please.
Robots fucking.
That is the answer of all answers. That's the best answer we've had so far. Thank you and good night. That is brilliant. That is brilliant. I've got to amend mine now. I'm taking that. That is brilliant. I'm popping down that in my notes. That is amazing. Mine has just been Screech, but robots fucking is so much better. you get a better understanding of it that way.
Yeah.
Mine, you just think a pipe is a bit wobbly. Yours, proper descriptive.
Hang on a minute. Can I just plug some power in for?
Yeah, absolutely.
My battery's running low on my phone. I'm gonna
absolutely
plug some power in because I don't want to lose you. One
that's
second.
amazing. That is. Oh god. There we go. Whilst he's getting power, look at that amazing setup he's got behind him.
Oh, you like
that is lovely. I like the LED. I'm still working on. I got my little LEDs over there.
That's all my vinyl collection down there.
Wow.
That's the XDJ.
Oh my god.
I don't know if you pan it around this way. I've set my studio up for live streaming, but I've got my keyboard there. But that's where I make all the music. But
gorgeous. That's amazing. That is.
Yeah, so I've got a purpose-built loft.
Oh my god. I could only dream of that. I'm using the family office. I've kind of half turned it into a studio like that.
You have to do what you have to do, mate. That's what I say.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm pretty happy with where things are at the moment. I've got my little touches here and there. It's kind of like half music, half dad's work. So it's an interesting split.
Yeah.
Right. Next one is drum and bass.
Metalheads. That's
interesting. What makes you say that?
I just associate drum and bass with metal, the label, Goldie's label, Metalheads, because I was a big drum and bass fan. So
got you.
Just as soon as people mention drum and bass, that's kind of my connection in my brain.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And rolling beats.
At first, when you said Metalheads, I thought you were talking about like rock music. I was like, what the frig is he on about?
No.
Because I'm not into drum and bass at all, really. So I don't know any labels.
Goldie set up a label back in the 90s called Metalheads, and I just associate drum and bass with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Crap. Next one. Happy hardcore.
Oh, whistles.
Okay.
I'd say glow sticks and whistles.
Okay. I put childish. I just feel
okay.
I don't know why. I don't know if it's like the
glow sticks, whistles, and childish comes all in one.
Yeah.
Hand in hand.
I think it's like the really high pitched female voices that you get in it a lot over the tracks. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just feels like it'd be a great time at the local wacky warehouse.
A lot of the teenagers are into it. I got into it as a teen, the happy hardcore stuff and the rave and yeah. Yeah.
Tropical house.
Palm trees.
Beautiful. Groove/funk.
Laid back.
And finally, future bass. It's one that stumps people because future bass isn't big here. It's more of a thing in America.
Okay. I don't even know what it is. So
Have you ever been on like on YouTube? You've got like no copyright sound and all that kind of
Is it
stuff.
like AC Slater kind of stuff? Kind
Yeah,
of anti-up kind of
yeah.
cool AF.
Okay. I like it. I like it. That's beautiful. Well, that's the end of that. There's just one last thing that I wanted to ask you, and then I'll let you go.
Okay.
And that is, what is the one song that sums up your life? Or the one song that you'd like to have played at your funeral? The one song that really makes you happy?
So I've always said this. I'm a massive John Lennon fan, and I've always wanted John Lennon Imagine played at my funeral, because I think that song has so much in it that we can use in our day-to-day lives, and kind of like a imagine peace on earth, imagine no wars, imagine no poverty, imagine, do you know what I mean? Just imagine.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful song. So I'd like that.
And is that the song that you'd use to sum up your life, or is there a particular song you'd say would sum up your life?
Oh, I don't think you could sum up my life in one song, to be fair. But
it's a difficult question. It's not one that I've answered yet, but it's interesting to see if there's anyone out there that will just poke one out. But
no, but definitely the John Lennon Imagine at the end of my funeral. I mean, it's a mindset John had, and I do try and take on some of his peace and love attitude towards life. Absolutely. So you could say I can apply some of the stuff he stood for in my day-to-day life. So that could be,
That is beautiful. I love that. I think that's one of the things that brings me most to dance music and to raves and to the whole, the people in it and everything to do with it, is the fact that it's very much just leave your ego at the door. I don't care what religion you are, where you're from, what you look like, or whatever. Let's just enjoy ourselves. Let's just enjoy life. Let's just all be one. There's something so spiritual about it, and it's the most beautiful thing.
That song sums it up. The one love kind of thing, and when you're on that dance floor, it doesn't matter where you're from. It connects everybody.
It speaks to the soul. I mean, I've had multiple memories of not only at ministry, but I had some at Tomorrowland of you're at the front of the rave, particularly like the festivals, and then in the middle, near the front of the crowd, you got a lad in the air in his wheelchair, and his mate, and the DJ points his fingers at him, and the kid's going crazy. Man, that shit brings a tear to my eye.
Yeah.
That fantastic. And I've had a couple memories of being at the front of the main room ministry crowd.
Yeah.
And I've turned around to my mate to say, like, "Oh God, is this kind of thing?" And as I've turned around, a couple rows behind him was an elderly couple, probably in their 80s. They were all dressed up like you would expect an 80s couple. He was dressed in almost like a suit and a bit of a coat. She was in her dress and like a dancing shoes and whatnot. And they was loving life. It was bass jackers, I think it was big room or whatever, but they was just loving it. And
just going for it.
Oh man. Whew. Oh my God. that hit me right there. I was like, oh, music is the most amazing thing in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so important to me. I think it's everything. And I think everyone around the world needs to know about dance music, because it's probably the biggest uniter I've ever seen.
Yeah, definitely.
Tell the people what you have coming up. What have you got planned for sort of as things reopened? Have you got music that you're going to be releasing and getting back into gigs?
Yeah, like I said, I've got 5 tracks ready to roll out. I haven't got them signed yet. I did have a management deal on them, but it went south, as sometimes things do. So I think I might be back at Attic Tamworth on the 21st, which would be the big opening. And then Prism on the Friday. Yeah, Prism Nottingham on the Friday. And I think that whole week is just going to explode.
Save me a ticket. I want to be
yeah,
there.
Yeah.
Save me a ticket.
Apart from that, you know, I'm just sitting back waiting. You know, it's like I says, those two residencies will slip back in there. So, and then obviously I'm going to be touting for it. It just depends on what's happening. So
yeah, funny mate. Well,
yeah, we're just going to see what happens. So that I definitely know if we do open on the 21st, I will definitely be at it Tamworth on the 21st and the Prism on that Friday, 100% without a doubt. If we open
the 21st, what day is that? Is that like a
Monday?
Oh, is it? Okay.
It's a Monday, yeah.
Nice.
So I think Boris should make the Tuesday a national bank holiday because there's going to be so many angles.
Right, it's going to be chaos.
So yeah, and then I think it'd be the 24th or the 25th would be a Friday. 20. Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet.
So,
well,
yeah.
Thank you for coming on, mate. I really appreciate it.
No, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Brilliant to have you on. And hopefully we can do it again in say 6 months, have another update with you, and hopefully we'll be back to going crazy.
Hopefully my diary will be full then, and I'll be able to tell you I'm DJing here, I'm DJing there, and you're going to see me here, you're going to see me there. So yeah, fingers crossed it all happens. But thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Right. Thank you, pal.
No worries. Take care.
Mate. Bye-bye.